Welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition, where we keep you up to date with everything going on in the ColdFusion community. We'll share the latest news on events, releases to engines, frameworks, libraries, and tools, as well as spotlighting quality content from the community. Welcome back to the Modernize or Die CFML News Edition. Today we have a very special guest, Luis Mahano.
Hola, Gavin. How are you, man?
Pretty good. So, yeah, I'm Gavin Pickens, software development consultant for Ortus Solutions. And who are you?
I'm Luis Mahano. I'm the CEO of Ortus Solutions, and some people know me as the Box Man.
The Box Man. That's a pretty good way to put it there. So, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, very excited to be here, man.
Cool. Yeah, Luis is one of the people behind the podcast. He's really excited when I brought up the fact I wanted to do it, and so he's been really supportive. So thank you. And obviously you've been on the Soapbox one, but this is the first time on the news. So
I know this is my first news edition, so very exciting.
Cool. Well, I know we got lots to talk about later about the conference last week, but let's get on with the news first. So just announced Adobe ColdFusion 2018 is released update number 7. So it looks like it's a Windows only update. So if you guys are running Windows Server of CF 2018, they've got some fixes to the installer and the administration UI. So that will be available on ForgeBox soon. I know Brad and John are working on getting that update out, but it is released in the wild if you guys have Windows servers to update there. But also, on as far as engines, we have another announcement about Lucee. So Lucee's just released a release candidate number 2 for 5.3.4.73. So
those are a lot of points.
Yep, exactly. So this is their final 2019 sprint. So they've got a little blog post about this sort of year-end development update, and they've done a lot of work in this. So that's available on the dev.lucee.org site. They have a blog post about it, and they talk a little bit more about why this one took longer. And I guess they're debating different ways to sort of do this release cycle. Do you want to give us a little bit of input or insight into their process? Because I know that they're doing lots of quick releases, and they slowed down, did a lot of slow ones, and then they sped up again. I know that they're working really hard to sort of keep regressions down, but keep that work flowing.
Yeah, I think that, we all know that they have limited time on certain issues to address. So I think they're trying to find their groove of what works more efficiently. So hopefully they can find their groove to actually get more releases in a faster manner and get all these regressions addressed. But since I got back, I haven't even had a chance to get on and reading all these entries, but I have to, so we can see what they're doing and cooking.
Yep, I know that they were pretty busy with CF Camp in Germany too, so that's why this one's taking a little longer, but it's available out there. So go check out the release candidate 5.3.4 and check that out. And keep in contact. Best thing about open source is that feedback is very important. So
and I think what's something important that even Misha was saying to us is that you have to tag your tickets with the regression label. That's super, super important, because if not, they don't get the right priority for them to be addressed. So if you have issues that need to be addressed as regressions, make sure you mark them as regressions. Yeah,
it makes sense too. A bug is one thing, but a regression is a different ballpark. Exactly. So Good tip. So our other co-host, Brad Wood, looks like he's going to be busy again this week. So just because we kicked him off of here for 1 week, he decided to go present somewhere else. So he's going to be joining Charlie in the Online ColdFusion Meetup. Yeah. So, Brad is going to be over on the Online ColdFusion Meetup this Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern, so 9 a.m. Pacific, on December the 12th. And so he's going to be doing his Please Pass the Salt, Serve Up Passwords with a Side of Entropy. So I know this is a good talk. He's done this a few times, and a lot of people really like this one.
Yeah, I've seen Brad give this talk several times, and it's one of those sessions like Pete Freitag that scares the bejesus out of you. So I remember midstream Brad giving the first presentation that I saw him do. I was like coding away, changing things. So I really, really recommend this session. I mean, Brad goes in really deep into entropy and using modern tooling to encrypt and decrypt your password. So I really recommend it. It's something that must be in your tool set when you're developing.
Yeah, I mean, because hopefully no one's storing passwords in plain text anymore. But he also talks about, like simple hashing versus, things like bcrypt and salting. And and it's a good discussion. It's really pretty cool. So definitely recommend that. Is that the one that he got presented at DevNexus last year?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
It's Brad's nerdness to its maximum containment.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not just a ColdFusion presentation either. He did it at DevNexus there's a lot of people there. I mean, you guys have been the last few years, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, there was like over 60 people in Brad's session. So it's definitely applies to any language. So this is not really a ColdFusion kind of thing. It's more of a developer kind of thing. So
yeah, very cool. So again, if you go to meetup.com/ColdFusion Meetup, or just search for Online ColdFusion Meetup, Charlie hosts that, and it looks like they're back in business after a couple of weeks off of Thanksgiving. So go check that out on Thursday. Cool. So talking about online presentations, it sounds like there was a new one announced last week. Rakshith is going to be doing a webinar in January on ColdFusion for the next decade, all about the buzzworthy ColdFusion 2020. So it looks like he's going to be presenting and giving us a good sort of intro into what's coming with ColdFusion and why it's so pivotal, because they're really shaking the tree here on this one, getting a lot of changes in this.
Yeah, I am extremely excited about this release more than any of the releases that 2016 or 2018, to tell the truth. I think they're addressing, to me, which is our mantra right now, right, which is modernization, right? So they gave us a sneak peek at CF Summit, so I'm not breaking any NDAs, but they gave us a sneak peek of how they are shrinking down the engine to its core. I think Rakshith showed a slide that the engine was now at 33 megabytes or something like that.
It's crazy.
And then you have like a mini CLI that they've built to basically, construct the engine as you want, which is great. This is so sorely needed for the engine to move forward and modernize. So I'm very, very excited to see the amount of work that they're putting into that. Into itself, right? It's not a language feature per se, but it's more of a continued feature for the engine to continue for the next 15, 20 years.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to help. Yeah, when Dockerization, containerization, and everything else. I mean, things like size and all those things that, basically how to build your engine as you need it is really important. And
these are things that JDK introduced in JDK 9, actually. So JDK 9 introduced the ability for you to actually do native Java modules, but also actually compose. They have a utility where you can actually scan your source code, and you don't need the entire JDK, right? You can actually compact it and do this, and they're actually going to be building something very similar. So you can actually just know which parts of the ColdFusion engine you're going to be able to ship with once your code is closed, right? So very interesting things that they're doing. They're taking advantage of the JDK, which is something that I've been hoping, and Brad and I, we've been pestering all the vendors for this for years, which is the JDK has done incredible advancements, and there's so many feature richness in it that they need to take advantage of it.
Yeah. It sounds like they're definitely on the right path. And so January 16th, you can go online and register for it. I'll give you the URL, but obviously check out the show notes. But it's cfwebinar-cf2020.meetus.adobeevents.com. So if you can follow that, go check it out. I think there was a blog post too on the coldfusion.adobe.com site. But
I'll post it on the chat for people.
Perfect. Very cool. So, yep. So, a lot of good stuff there. And we'll talk a little bit more about CF Summit India when we get to the conference section as well. There's a few more things that came out from there. But another thing close to your heart is ColdBox 6. And it sounds like you're working on the ColdBox 6 Alpha. And it's the snapshot's available on ForgeBox. So, as you make some progress, people can check it out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we announced kind of our roadmaps into the box this year, and I've been kind of keeping it under wraps. Still not ready to show all the features that we're working on, but alpha has silently been released out there for people to start trying. I think one of their biggest features that we wanted to introduce is the ability to work or introduce asynchronous and parallel programming. So this is something that Brad and I have been really tinkering with this for almost a year now, or probably even more. So it's based on the Java completable futures SDK. So we're trying to create something very fluent and very dynamic for ColdFusion developers to leverage. That it's easy to debug, which is asynchronous programming is extremely hard to debug, and it's not easy. It's really not easy, but it's so powerful that we want to introduce certain aspects. I mean, we've been researching this for a long time, not only in Java but in Go, in PHP libraries, in JavaScript libraries, and what was the last one I was seeing? I think we were doing Groovy. So I've kind of gone through. I have done this in 4 different languages to try to get the best out of them and bring it into the fold. And we decided to make this core to ColdBox because it really just we're taking advantage of it anyways already inside of the core. So in the 6 alpha, all the file logging actually now is done with completable futures. So we have addressed this, and it works incredibly well, where we actually have a task that executes in the background and leverages a queue to look at the file logs. So basically, you're not sending your logs to the file; we're actually streaming them. So you actually are putting them in memory, and we have a task that actually looks at this queue and actually starts streaming them to disk. And if there's nothing going on for 10 seconds or so, then that task dies. And then whenever we're requested again, then the task can start up again. So it really has created a huge improvement in terms of logging just in this 6 alpha. And this was just kind of our litmus test of, okay, is this going to work as we want? And it's been really, really incredible. So we already have the API in place. We're doing some dynamic Java proxies in order to work with completable futures, but the async features are underway, and I would say maybe like 60% completed. And so we're going to be introducing even different ways to actually execute tasks. So you're going to be able to say, Gavin, hey, I want you to execute this closure or this components method every 5 seconds or every 10 seconds. So you can create these kind of periodic tasks very easily and be able to manage them, turn them down, shut them down, etc. So we're trying to do this ability for developers to do things asynchronous, but we're also introducing things that you can do in parallel. So I think Lucee introduced these things a while back with array each and struct each, where you can say, hey, go execute these things in parallel. We introduced CB streams, which you can execute also in parallel. And we're also giving you some nice little features where you can say, hey, I want you to execute all these closures, all these components in parallel for me and manage a new thread pool for them. So we're getting fancy with asynchronous programming and this first kind of iteration of the ColdBox 6 alpha. And the next portion will be the custom renderers. I think this will be mostly hugely beneficial for Preside CMS, that they do a tremendous amount of renderings. And so we want to introduce the capability for anybody to actually create their own rendering approach to ColdBox. So this means that, it could be ColdFusion or it could be even JavaScript. It won't matter at that time. As long as you adhere to our interfaces, you're going to be able to attach any type of custom render into ColdBox. So it's underway. Test it out. Give me some feedback. We definitely need it, and we're very excited for this next iteration of ColdBox 6.
Yeah, it sounds like some pretty cool stuff. Obviously, I get all the little updates in our Slack channel, and you get all excited and say, "Look at this!" and do a little show and tell out on a weekly meeting. So it's pretty cool to get the inside scoop. But yeah, I'm excited.
We're definitely gonna document the heck out of it as always. But Brad always brought a point, which is, okay, how does it compare to run async? So we have written down pretty much all the different things that we do very differently than the traditional run async. I mean, this is really extending the completable futures API, where you can be doing asynchronous programming throughout, different types of error, exception trapping, embedded logging. I mean, we've gone all the way. So it's run async is very simplistic approach. We're trying to make it even more robust.
Very cool. Well, it sounds like a good one to definitely check out, and into the box next year. I'm sure we'll have a lot more information about it. So very cool.
Yeah, definitely. That's my goal, to have at least, hopefully, a vinyl version by Into the Box in May, or if not, at least a release candidate.
Very cool. Okay, well, it looks like we've been busy updating some of our Lucee extensions. So there was a MongoDB extension update released yesterday. So fresh off the plate, we haven't even had a blog post about it yet.
Yeah. John Clausen released it yesterday. He's in charge of the Mongo extension, and it has mostly fixes in this iteration, especially for Lucee 5.2 engines and above. There were some breaking changes in Lucee 5.3 that we needed to address. We also did this with the Redis extension and the Couchbase extension. So you can have that available now. And I know we're going to be introducing another update to the Mongo extension because of all the work we did on the Redis extension using streams as well. So I think that as we start updating these extensions, we start getting all the fancy new JDK stuff into them as well. So, and we have I forgot to tell you, but we have a new extension that we're planning with Mr. John Clausen. So it's a secret extension, but we're in planning phases right now, but it will be very searchable.
Very cool. Well, we wanted just to mention that anyone who's looking at doing Pete Freitag's online training on security is that's tomorrow and Thursday. Sorry, you're too late. It's all sold out. So Pete had his early bird and his punctual bird discounts, and basically he's already filled that up. So if you didn't make it, I'm sure he's gonna be doing it again in the future. Again, this is the first time he's done it online, but he's done it lots of times at different conferences. So he does do this often. So keep an eye out. But hopefully we'll get a report from him after the training and see how he thinks it went, and see if he has a timeline for when he'll do it next. But as you said before, Pete always scares the bejesus out of you. But it's a great workshop, and I'm glad he sold out. This means we're going to be seeing more of them in the future. So hopefully it's a big success for him. But talking about training, it sounds like we've got some top secret training news that we can give a little bit of detail on, but not too much. So it sounds like we've got 2 or 3 trainings coming up in the near future, or I guess in 2020. It's not too soon, but we're getting pretty close. But so you want to give us a little detail on when these might be happening and where?
Yeah. So as we start ending the year, obviously we're planning for next year. So the gear is already turning for all the events that we're going to be doing ourselves and all the events that we're going to be attending. But we can start with mid-April. We're going to be in the DC area. We don't know the final dates just yet, but it will be probably the last 2 weeks of April. And we are going to be either running a hero to superhero or a zero to hero. So it will be depending on what the people want. So if you have a preference of which workshop you want us to do there, probably will just be one workshop due to the amount of space that we get there in the DC area. But for now, we're just thinking one session, 2 days in end of April. So that will be the first one.
Very cool. And then obviously in May, we have Into the Box itself, and we always do training beforehand. So we have the 2-day conference, and we'll talk more about that soon. But we have usually we have 5 workshops for that, because we usually try and make the use of the space we have and all the Ortus team members. So last year we did Zero to Hero, and we did a REST one and a containerization one. And so we're still deciding on what the final workshops will be. Hopefully by the end of the year, we should have our schedule and our workshops decided. Is that correct?
Yeah, and actually I think we might do 6 this time around.
6.
So we'll make it harder. Yeah, we have another room available in the hotel. So I think we might be able to even do 6 workshops. As usual, we also give other sponsors the ability to do this as well.
Yep.
So if you're a sponsor,
Pete did a security one last year, and that was well attended as well.
Well received. Yes, we had one by Nginx at one point. So we're trying to see if other companies are interested in giving a workshop so they can make a little money and obviously expand their brand. We're also in talks with Elasticsearch actually to see if they can actually be here on site doing a workshop with us.
Very cool.
So yeah, no, we're the workshops are coming. We're going to be working on that probably after the holidays, but by January that's our goal, to have the schedule almost prep and the workshops already available.
Very cool. And so after that, I heard that you have another training scheduled in Singapore, of all places.
Yeah, we're taking advantage of some travel that we're doing with my wife, like we did this year with India. I've been very interested in Asia, and there's one of our friends, Philippe Sambor, which lives in Singapore, and he actually started by doing a ColdBox Zero to Hero training, and he's been doing some amazing stuff, especially in Asia. So he has already a meetup of over 250 developers, not only in Singapore, but in Bangkok, and I think he was also talking about Jakarta and Malaysia. So it's very interesting. So I'm very interested in that area. So we're looking into actually be there and do either a 1 day or 2 day kind of event. I'm not sure if it will be complimentary or it will be paid for, but at least we have some ideas that we're throwing around with Philippe, and we're thinking of maybe doing an AWS API Superhero Edition, where we actually build a microservice and actually deploy it to AWS and kind of show the whole pipeline. And so cool. It's still in the works. It's still, almost 11 months away, but the gears are moving, and Asia is one of our targets for us to start addressing and in our evangelization of not only ColdFusion, but our modernization mantra.
Well, I know that you did some travel early in the year in the Asian area and had a pretty surprising turnout to some ColdBox training, right? You're surprised how many ColdBox developers you were at over there.
I was very surprised. For the India training we did. I was blown away, to tell the truth. We sold out. We had about 15 developers. And usually we try to keep our trainings very intimate. We're not looking for 100 people. We want it to be intimate. We want I want to be able to meet everybody and actually help everybody personally. So, but we were blown away because we had to expand the room, and it was impressive. It was very impressive. The very smart folks there in the Bangalore area, and it just, I think we definitely need to go back. So I think that for Summit, if they do India Summit next year, I think either some of us from the Ortus team, they have to be there. We need to do some training there because there's a lot of developers and they want to be trained. They're very eager to train. They're very eager to learn and apply new techniques. So it was very exciting to see these guys. And I think one of the most exciting things is that we had our own masala chai station.
Apparently, ColdFusion runs on chai in India.
Yes, I ran on chai in India, and I still do now. I'm making my own masala chai now here. I'm completely addicted to it.
Cool. So I know that CF Camp will be doing training there too. They're finalizing dates. I heard a rumor that they might be changing the dates from their normal time, but we also have some training in Las Vegas. So CF Summit West is still not finally announced, but we're planning on doing some training there again. So we'll do ColdBox Zero to Hero and Hero to Superhero. We had a great success last year with that, and we get a lot of requests for that training. So I know Brad was really successful with the Superhero training at CF Camp this year too. So we're looking at late October for that. We'll let you know the dates for sure when they get confirmed. But we're excited to have that. It's always fun in Vegas. We get the nice suites with a great view. We get to hang out with a lot of people and make some friends and learn a lot too.
Yeah, definitely. I love the Vegas trainings because we rent these awesome suites, and I think this year was the best one.
Yeah,
so I think that we need to repeat the formula. So definitely it's going to be in the area. I'm saying that now, but hopefully there'll be availability. But those suites were incredible. So and doing those dual sessions was also really nice. So definitely looking forward to that. You mentioned CF Camp, and actually I was chatting to Michi Nat about it. And the problem is that there's a lot of I think soccer matches or some tournament at that time that he usually does it, and it's causing havoc with pricing. And he always likes to maintain the conference very affordable. So he's looking for alternative dates, and actually just we have our idea of actually doing Into the Box Europe now, since we are now in 2 continents. So now we want to move into Europe, and I think that we're discussions with him to actually see if that could be feasible as well, to kind of join the event to start. So
very cool. Yeah, well, especially if we can all get there. I've been hoping to get there sometime soon. So one day I'll make it to CF Camp. So if we have Into the Box Europe at the same time, that makes it even easier. So very cool. Definitely. So there's a little top secret training in the future. So start planning your year next year. So we'll be in DC in April, Houston in May, Singapore in early October, Vegas late October, and then CF Camp we're still finding out about. And sounds like a pretty action-packed year.
Yeah, definitely action-packed. More conferences. So Into the Box Europe might be even another conference.
Yep. Okay, well, enough about secret training, but we'll go over because Brad just can't stay out of the limelight. So Brad was talking and did a little screencast. So using the Fusion Reactor profile to find slow code. So he gets asked this quite a lot. He made this cool little screencast that shows you exactly how to do it. And I saw a lot of people on Twitter, really thankful for it. So that's a great little screencast. So it's available on the Ortus blog website, and he links to the Fusion Reactor site and the Ortus Fusion Reactor command box module as well, which makes it easy to get up and running. So definitely check that out. Pretty cool. So that being said, now we get to talk about conferences. So last week, Into the Box Latino America sold out. So I guess that means it was a pretty good success, right? Well, at least a lot of people showed up, but was it a success?
Both of those things, Gavin.
Great.
Another impressive thing. I mean, we were blown away by it. Prime. How would you say it? Prime real estate, because there's nobody knows a lot about ColdFusion or CFML. Very little. I would say 1% or 2%. Of the attendees knew something about ColdFusion. Obviously, they knew a lot about Java and a lot about PHP and Node, but it was impressive to be able to address over 100 attendees. So, coming and going, we had about 100 people coming in and out, and we could only support actually 90 in the venue. So don't tell the venue, but we were fluctuating above it. But it was fantastic. I mean, the speakers were amazing. Sometimes we threw some of our speakers into the fire. They had never spoken before. So it was pretty cool to actually see that. It was all in Spanish except John. John was the only one that was doing his sessions in English, but he did great. He had slides in Spanish. He tried a few things in Spanish. So they were extremely funny. We actually had a master of ceremonies, Gavin.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see his videos?
I saw he put on a show. I saw some pictures on Twitter and everything. The Into the Box Latam hashtag, and then at Into the Box Latam was a new account we created for it. There was a lot of great stuff flying on Twitter, lots of photos. That place looked amazing. It looked so professional.
The actual stage, this is the first time we build a stage. So it was really awesome, and we had huge Into the Box Latam kind of carts everywhere, and the lighting was awesome. The scenery was really amazing, and we actually recorded every session as well. So these sessions are going to be available as a Vimeo package pretty soon here. So we're getting into the mood of recording everything that we do, so people can actually have access to them afterwards. Not a lot of people can go at the same time, or they have previous commitments and things of that nature, but they can still take advantage of our content. And this will be the beginning of our Spanish-speaking library to address Latin America. But very exciting. So the Edgardo, which works with us in Ortus, El Salvador, was the master of ceremonies. So we actually discovered that he's a comedian. We never knew this. He's also a dancer. Guy,
that's for sure.
I know, and he's also a dancer. Oh. So we have several compromising videos of him floating around in social media. That would be very fantastic. But we already booked him for Into the Box USA. And what was hilarious was that people actually came up to me and asked me where they can hire him, and then he can actually do, be master of ceremonies for other events. So he did such a great job that people thought that we had actually hired him to do that.
Oh, man of multi-talents, that's for sure. But yeah, he's a great guy, and he's like the nicest, happiest person you'll ever meet. Even though I got his name wrong like 10 times in a row whenever I first met him.
Yeah. But it was impressive. I mean, the Latin American landscape is prime for ColdFusion to become part of it. There's actually a few licenses that are floating around in Latin America, especially Mexico and Brazil, which are targets, at least for us, since we'll be able to communicate there. But we also, what was amazing for us is that our PR team in El Salvador, which is BIM Consulting, was able to provide an alliance with the new government in El Salvador. So they have a Secretary of Innovation, which basically met with us, and they were very interested in what we're doing and our mantra of modernization and open source. And they were very impressed, and they provided a lot of support for us internally, and they even provided a speaker from Amazon Web Services. So Luis Ayala came actually just for the event from Mexico to speak at the event, and then he actually returned back to Mexico that night. Amazing session on Amazon Web Services, but it was amazing to see, now we have an alliance with Amazon Web Services to do more things with them as an AWS partner. So it was really impressive to see support from a government, which sometimes you don't see that, especially in Latin America. And it's impressive to see that amount of coverage. So we're actually going to be meeting with them again in the next week, actually, to see what else we can do and provide in terms of modernization. And I think this is really awesome for us as a ColdFusion community, because if you can speak Spanish, or even if you don't speak Spanish, I think that more opportunities hopefully will start opening in Latin America. And I think that's really important for the language to expand and for us to keep evangelizing everywhere we go.
Very cool. So obviously, it sounds like a great event. Did you get to talk to some of the developers after and got their feedback? I mean, what were they saying? It sounded like really positive stuff on Twitter from what I could translate.
Yeah, I mean, we have Paulina that is helping us with all the PR stuff, and she prepared a report there. All the comments were in Spanish there, but maybe we can share that document later, Gavin. But they were really impressed. As, like I said, some of these folks had never heard of ColdFusion. So it was the first time exposing them to the language, and they were very impressed with everything that we're doing. We had sessions on Elasticsearch, we had sessions on HMVC, we had sessions on actually the construction of microservices, the actual creation of front ends using Vue.js and Quasar, your awesome framework that you love, Gavin. And so it was really, really amazing to see that feedback coming from them, that they had never seen a language like this, and they were so interested. And that's great for ColdFusion, because they are not, they don't have the baggage of the 20 plus years, right? Where they think that the ColdFusion is the tag-based stuff. They just see this as something new and something that's functional, object-oriented, right? And that, there's two different flavors. So they really liked that. And some other companies came up to us, and they were interested in, how they can actually start working with ColdFusion. What was impressive to me that got me very emotional, to tell the truth, was that a 15-year-old kid that was disabled had actually seen in the newspaper about us, and he made his parents drive him to the event that day from, I don't know, somewhere outside of the city. And he came in and was like, I want to be here. So we comped his ticket. Actually, Edgardo comped his ticket. and he was there. I met him. I took pictures with him, and it just, man, it really got me emotional, to tell you the truth, because this kid just saw this and he's like, boom, I want to be there. I want to learn. And he's 15. His parents were there. It was really amazing to see things like that.
That's cool. I mean, I know that's part of the reason why you wanted to do this in Latin America, especially in El Salvador. I mean, you grew up there. It's a special place in your heart, right? I mean, and so it's good to be able to give back.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, El Salvador, I left when I was 17. El Salvador doesn't have a good history of things, especially, civil wars, gangs, lots of really bad stuff. So I think that it was time for us to now go back and have good times, right? And be able to present opportunities. And we've been helping orphanages there for a long time now. And actually, three developers from that orphanage were there as Very well, cool. Learning ColdFusion and applying that for their new projects. But to me, it's very special to be able to return, to the country where I was born, and be able to provide opportunities, because they're very scarce there. It's not like here. It's very scarce, and so it's important. It's really important for us as a mission to be able to give back and present opportunities wherever we can.
Yeah, and obviously we have our office there, and we got a good little team we're building, and and it's just going to help with that as well. And it's good to see some of those guys there, and like you say, some presenting for the first time, so that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah. We have the team is growing now. We have 6 and plus now growing, so it's very exciting to see that, and they're smart, very smart, and very driven.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, the last couple we got were like teaching before. They were teaching other languages, and so they're not just coming in as developers. They're proficient in teaching. They say the best way to learn something is to teach somebody, right? And so, yeah, very impressed by these guys, and give us a good run for our money. But it's good for Ortus in general. We're just improving.
Yeah.
Well, there was another conference last week as well. So CF Summit India in Bangalore. So you went and visited the offices there when you were in India, your training, but they had their second CF Summit India, and I guess they had almost 200 people there this year. So Michaela Light did a lot of tweeting on Twitter about the conference. She was actually on Facebook asking questions, and so it's kind of interesting. I saw some back and forth with Brad too, that we talked about Adobe doing some updates with ColdFusion and making it more modern. They're even talking about using ForgeBox as a way to install extensions, and so Brad said he'd be happy to help with that. So
I did not hear that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so Rakshith would be open to something like that, because someone was asking about package management and everything, and they were saying, well, ForgeBox is already here, maybe we could leverage that. And so it was interesting seeing the little messages on Facebook and then on Twitter as well. So if you look for CF Summit 2019 or CF Summit India, you can see some of the tweets there. And Yogesh Mathur, one of our Patreon supporters, he was there, and he wrote a blog post about the conference, and so we have that in the show notes as well. But if you go to lucidoutsourcing.com, you can see some of his takeaways. And at the bottom of that blog post is a whole bunch of interesting things that they're going to be talking about in 2020, CF 2020, but also the future. So that's definitely worth reading. Yogesh says he's not much of a writer, but he wanted to share the experience for everybody. So thank you for doing that. It was a good. He had some good photos there too, and a lot of good content on Twitter there as well. And then Theron, who's Darting Knight, excuse me, he has a YouTube channel, and he actually did a little video presentation called A Day at Adobe Office, Adobe ColdFusion. So he did like a little, he's a young guy. He did an office tour and sort of talked about his experience. It's a little 5-minute video, but if you weren't there and you wanted to sort of see whereabouts in Bangalore it was and what it looked like and some of the information, he showed some of the food. So I know some people just want to go there for the food. Brad, you can go see what they're eating, and he gave his little report. So that was pretty cool too. So I got that link there as well. So, but it sounds like they had a good turnout, a lot of good content. They shared a lot of cool stuff and announced a few of those things like the webinar that Rakshith's going to do. And it sounds like they're really gearing up. 2020 is going to be a big year for us.
Yeah, no, definitely. I know Yogesh, he was actually in the training, And I've known Jogesh for a long time, so it's cool to see his awesome mustache.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, I tell you.
I know, it's pretty impressive.
He did Movember proud.
Yes, definitely.
Cool. So, again, we have Into the Box coming up soon as well. So May 6th to 8th in Houston. So in the Woodlands there, in your neck of the woods at the Hyatt Place. So we're going to be there at Into the Box. The call for speakers is now available, so I think you just posted in the channel. So papercall.io/ITB2020. We've got some good content from people from outside the ColdFusion community as well by using something like this, a third-party tool for collecting our content. But we need more ColdFusion developers and speakers too. So we're hoping to try and make those decisions into the month, guys. So please get your submissions in there. If you're a new speaker, submit your ideas and we can help guide you and get you along the way. But yeah, we like to have new speakers, and we usually have a pretty good mixture of Ortus speakers and community speakers. So we're looking to make this the biggest and best Into the Box yet, right?
Yeah, no, very excited for next year as we keep growing and growing. So every year ITB has been growing by at least 20-30%. So very exciting to see that, and we want to do the same this year. I think we've kind of been focusing our shifting our focus a little bit, and kind of targeting modernization and software craftsmanship as well. Of course, we present our keynotes, right, and we present our roadmaps for all our box products, right. It's our chance to kind of highlight the work that we've done, but our interest is to be able to empower developers to learn for software development, and that includes a multitude of languages. So the more languages that we can cover, the better. I think that nowadays you have to be a polyglot. You have to be able to work at least with 2-3 languages. So it's important to be able to do training on those languages. So very, very exciting to see that. And I think we have January 11th, I think is the closing date for our call for speakers. So get your talks in. Know somebody that's in, and we're also going to be promoting this locally this year like never before. We're going to be targeting lots of schools. We have like I mentioned, Paulina going to be spearheading that to get more sponsors in, to get more people interested locally as well, and move our mantra with modernization. So I'm very, very excited for next year.
Very cool. Okay, well, we've done a lot of talking about everything in the news and the conferences, but let's get to the blogs and tweets of the week, and we'll try and roll through these. To be honest, it's been a real busy week. Conferences everywhere and a lot of blog posts and tweets, but we'll try and get through these here. So Ben Adele had a blog post out about the Alvis operator, and so he was talking about how you could chain the Alvis operator multiple times. So he was just talking about you never thought about it, but it makes a good way to maybe check multiple default values for something. So if there isn't something, you can roll back to 2 or 3 different types, and it actually allows you to do that nicely. So nice little blog post about that, and yeah, it was pretty interesting. I actually ran into another issue though with the Alvis operator, and basically my little tip is use parentheses to make sure that you know what is actually inside the item you're setting, because I didn't use it, and there was a change in one of the engines that broke all my code all of a sudden because I was assuming it knew what I meant. So use parentheses and So.
Oh yeah, I love the Alvis operator, but it has bit me so many times. So I know that Adobe's fixing their stuff for their engines, but man, Adobe 11 is completely broken. Brad has a terror story that we had yanking this out of all our libraries because it was just broken in several areas. So I'm still not comfortable to go back and using it again. On things that you have to support multiple engines, that is.
Yeah. Well, it was funny. I was actually using it in Lucee, and I was basically on the left side of a comparison. So I was using the Alvis operator to get a value or something equals to something else. Oh, and Brad made a good point that I was assuming that the result would be on the left side of the operator, and the equals would be compared to whatever the result of the Alvis was. But theoretically, I could have used the equals equals to figure out, and that could have been a true or a false value for the Alvis operator. And so without the parentheses, it was guessing. But my point was, it guessed right before the update, and it guessed an error after the update. So, anyways, but so yeah, good blog post from Ben as usual. So you get that on benadel.com. We also had a tweet from the Lucee team. So they asked, would you want to increase your knowledge? Dive into our tutorials. For example, want to use Java and Lucee? Check out our Java Lucee tutorial. So I guess they've got a little section on their website. So if you go to docs.lucee.org/guides/various, there's a tutorial on Java and Lucee, but they also have a few other tutorials there too. So we'll link to that. So it's kind of neat. I didn't know they had a tutorial section, but they do.
Yeah, I've seen it before. Yeah, I just wish they did more of their samples in script than in tags.
Well, I guess they could use cfscript.me and fix it. And there was another tweet from Pete Freitag. So he released his ColdFusion newsletter again. So he's got a lot of great content in there. So he mentioned a few of the people in there. So Charlie, Ben Adele, Matt Gifford, Matt Clemente, CF Simplicity, which I always forget his name, Dave Ferguson, CF Camp, Into the Box. So there's a lot of people contributing content to that newsletter. So it's a really good newsletter. If you guys haven't done it, you should go to tinyletter.com/CFML and you could sign up and you get it emailed, and it's roughly monthly. But we have a tweet, Pete Freitag tweeted it, so we have a link to the tweet itself and to Pete's page there as well. But yeah, so if you guys can't keep up with the weekly content we roll out, he has the best of the best every month there. So it was pretty funny because right after he tweeted that, Matt Clemente tweeted saying, I haven't finished reading last month's content, Pete. So
I know these don't you think it's pretty awesome, Gavin, that these news and all the stuff that these newsletters and all the stuff that we do keep increasing and increasing. It seems like there's this snowball effect, and people are wanting to, do more and blog more and put more content out there. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And this thing, it's really hard to keep up with it. And that's part of the reason we want to do this podcast, was to try and put it all together in one place. And, I know Pete does a great job on his newsletter, and, but we wanted to get stuff out there. And, like I said, we could do a podcast just about Ortus stuff, but obviously there's a lot of community stuff too.
Tremendous.
Yep. And speaking of community stuff, the Fusion Reactor guys have a video on Java automatic root cause error analysis. So they have a little video up there on YouTube, and it talks about event snapshots and how they're meant to give you like a deep level insight into an error. And so I guess you can set it up so it'll automatically take snapshots depending on the errors and stuff. So they have a little video about how to use them, how to set them up, and it's pretty useful. I know that I was troubleshooting a site last week, and I was able to go back and see all these these root cause errors because of this. So it's pretty cool. Definitely love Fusion Reactor, and I like seeing more of their videos out there. Those little 5-6 minute videos are really good. You can just digest that little piece. Don't have to watch a whole presentation to get some value out of it. So
yeah, definitely. I think these tools for tracking down issues, Fusion Reactor and the new Adobe monitoring tools are just, you just need them, and then actually there's a few JDK ones that are available now. So Brad and I were talking about them. So we're going to be kind of see how we can actually do some additions of the native Java tooling available to us. I can't remember the name. Brad might put it in the chat, but we were talking about it last week or so, that, they've gone a long way with these kind of in-depth analysis of what's going on in the JDK now. So hopefully we'll start introducing more tools.
Cool. And then that Brad guy again tweeting. So he just said, I spent the morning troubleshooting an odd SSL handshake error, only to find it went away when I updated to the latest version of Java 11. Thanks to Foundeo and his vast SSL knowledge for helping him. So he was working on some of the command box SSL stuff as far as connecting to different repos. So command box allows you to, connect private keys and everything, and so he was chasing down a bunch of SSL certificates for that. So so thanks Pete for helping, and it's cool to see those new changes going on to Command Box. So we should see those soon. I know a lot of people like using their private repos, and so definitely need the SSL support for that. Cool.
There we go. Brad answered. Mission control. That's the one we're looking at.
Oh, mission control. Very cool. And just so Brad also said that CF Simplicity is Julian Halliwell. So I forgot his name. Not really good with all the Twitter names. So, yep. And then of course we had a tweet from you. So, we wanted to link that one there so they could find some of the tweets about the conference. Sold out. Pretty impressive, and like I said, lots of great photos. I love all the lights and stuff there. It just looks so professional.
And it was impressive that not only we were tweeting, but everybody in the audience. So we were actually a trending topic in El Salvador for the whole day. So that was great to see people taking silly pictures and stuff like that. So
I know you guys had a cool robot. Tell us about the robot. What's up with the robot?
We forgot about the robot, Gavin.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, so the robot actually came from La Curaçao, which was one of our sponsors. And they provided this awesome robot, and you can program the robot, and it would do, it could speak whatever you wanted. So when people would come into the room, it would say, "Modernize or die! Modernize or die!"
Oh, jeez.
It was pretty hilarious. So I think Jorge was programming it with that and making fun of it, but it was very cool to have that little robot there. So I want to see if they can ship it here to Houston.
It wasn't that little though, too. It was like
no, it was big. It was big,
like 4 feet tall, almost 3.5 feet tall,
5 or something like that. Yeah,
I know. I mean, we were so excited. We were on site with a client, me and Eric, a couple of weeks back when he helped me with the CFML News podcast, and at the hotel they had one of those delivery robots. And so you'd order up the room service or something, and they'd put something in the robot, and you'd bring it up to your room, ring the doorbell, ring the phone, so you could go answer it, and then cool. And it like navigates pretty smart. I swear it's probably just a Roomba with a delivery service on top, but it was pretty smart. Goes and activates the elevator and stuff. So we had to give it some test edge cases to see if it could figure out how to get around us. And but it was those robots are cool.
Brad says that we should bring it to Houston if they don't agree to modernize, that it should zap them with a laser.
Yeah, exterminate. Danger, Will Robinson.
Really fun. It was really fun. We actually are I'm going to give you with a tease, Gavin. I know you like to tease a lot of people in the podcast with news and events and stuff.
Yeah.
So here's something just to tease people. You know where the DeLoreans are being made right now?
Do
you know which city or state they're being made right now? DeLoreans? Do you remember the DeLoreans from Back to the Future?
I remember, but I mean, I assume they're in Detroit, Michigan, but I don't know.
No, Houston, Texas.
Houston actually is making some DeLoreans.
Yes, in Humboldt, Texas, which is about 20 minutes from my house. So
and Into the Box theme for the next year is Back to the Future.
Back to the Future. So, very exciting to see that. 20 minutes away from my house.
So interesting. So Back to the Future. We got some great designs from Esme, our designer and programmer. She's got some awesome looking stuff. So the t-shirts will be better than ever, which they always are. But cool. And then so we have the blog post from the two guests here. So that's in the show notes. We also have that video from Theron, the Darting Knight. So that's in the show notes as well. And then Brad, again, he was tweeting about the CF Evangelist kit. So some people were asking about numbers, about like how many, Fortune 100 companies use ColdFusion, etc. And so Alicia actually sent the Evangelist kit link.
Oh, cool.
And so we have a tweet to that. And it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of good information in there. So no Dan card, we are not giving away a DeLorean. We might be able to sell raffle tickets for a draw. No, I don't know. Just teasing.
Every attendee gets a DeLorean. You have to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe a toy one. You maybe get a Matchbox for them or something. There you go, Luis. That's on our price range, our budget.
It's marketing,
Yep. And then we have a tweet from James Moberg. This is pretty cool. So I actually remember using this, but Raymond Canvan's 13-year-old UPS package is still going strong.
Nice.
So I guess the CFUPS, it's still working, but apparently they're changing something. So at the end of this year, 12/31, UPS needs to change the www link in the live URL to online tools. But I remember using this back in the day, so pretty interesting.
Yeah, why don't we give away a challenge, Gavin? So whoever actually wraps that UPS module and creates a ColdBox module out of it and publishes in ForgeBox, we'll give them a prize. How about a nice little
toy DeLorean?
Maybe a toy DeLorean. How about a gift card or something? What do you think?
Yeah.
All right. Challenge. Good. So we'll blog about it. But if you fork that sucker or tell Raymond, even Ray can do it. But we'll do it like a little gift card, and we'll ship it to you if you actually publish it in ForgeBox.
Pretty cool. Sounds good. Okay, so next section we have CFML jobs. So there's a few jobs listed here. So on the Get CFML Jobs website, we have 22 positions open right now from 17 companies across 15 locations in 5 countries. But we actually had one that was emailed to one of the user groups, and so they shared that, so I came across it. So there's a 3-month contract for a ColdFusion developer in Washington, D.C. They're looking for a conversion project, looking for a ColdFusion developer to help for a few months. They must have the ability to obtain an active secret security clearance for the Department of Defense. So it sounds like a pretty interesting topic. They have an old CF9 app running on Windows Server 2008 that needs to be upgraded to a new version that can run on Windows Server 2012. And so it has to be done by January 2020 because that's when the end of life is for Windows Server 2008. So if you guys are interested, we have the link here for an email for Nicole Valente. She's from Apex Systems and she's handling that. So we'll have that in the show notes. So apply soon. It looks like we got to get some work done on that pretty soon. But there's also a full-time position for a consultant in SCC in Dundee, United Kingdom. They're looking for a ColdFusion consultant to basically have some best practice knowledge of deploying 2 instances on separate VMs of this app. And then there's a full-time senior developer at American Access Casualty Company in...
I know those guys.
Sorry?
I know those guys. Yeah,
you know
pretty good shop. Yeah.
Cool. So, so they've got a job there for a senior developer role. So
cool.
They'll be writing code, testing, analyzing, etc. So that's available on getcfmljobs.com as well. And like I said, there's lots of other jobs there as well if you're looking. And if you have one that you want to post, let us know and we can talk about it on the show.
We're gonna have to open one on probably the next CFML news next week, Gavin. So I think we have a position open in Ortus, so we'll talk about it for next week.
Ooh, top secret, coming soon. Yes. Cool. Okay, well, let's get on to the ForgeBox module of the week. So this week, we're actually going to talk about one of mine. And this is one that I used just this week. So it's called Version Header. And so it's just a simple little module. And what it basically does is it determines your app from a .version file that you create during your build process. And then it creates a response header for you. So it creates a header called x-server-version. And then basically, if you're debugging, it usually works best if you're in like a clustered setup or a Docker Swarm or something, and you're not sure, is your code actually running the code you think it's running? That can be kind of problematic sometimes. So it allows you just to, view your dev tools and look at your headers, and you can see what information is running. So for what I usually do is I have a build script either in my ForgeBox, my publish command. I'll actually have it using the box.json package script. I'll update the version file with that, or I'll actually have a build process that puts the date and time that the package was built and also the pipeline number, so that way I can go and see what was created. So it's a simple little module, and then it's got the code so you can actually add to your box.json if you want to use the package script, or if you're using GitLab or Bitbucket pipelines, it's a little bit of code that you can create that .version file. And then, that's all you need. So if you want to try that out, you do box install version header, and that's available up on ForgeBox. So
I like that. I think we've always talked about these things, so I'm glad you publishing it, because especially the pipeline. That way you can know if you're doing images or containers, you can actually see if the container was, loaded correctly, which one you're running, or which one introduced that bug, right?
Yep, exactly. And yeah, with things like Sentry and everything too, you can tag the version when you deploy it into Sentry, and then you can track it that way too. But this is just the quickest way, you can see. And I actually have one called Host Hitter that, outputs the host, so you can see if you're having a problem, you can make sure which host it's running on, because a lot of times you'll have one host will have an issue, but the other three are fine, and you're like, why is this happening? You can check that as well. So, these little modules, they don't have to be huge to go up on ForgeBox, but that one has, almost 2,000 installs already. So we're using it. So pretty cool.
Very good.
And then the next one, we have the VS Code hints, tips, and tricks of the week. And this is one that you recommended. So you want to tell us about this color picker?
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you're doing front end and you're working with SAS files or CSS files, it's always nice to actually have a nice little color palette to choose the right colors that you want. So color picker is pretty cool. You can highlight the color in VS Code, and boom, you get a nice little amazing color palette that you can tweak and mix and work with colors. So I love that. I love all these kind of design tools. Believe it or not, I actually was I was a designer at one point in my life. So
most of us were, just not Brad.
Yeah. I worked with a Mac for the first time.
Very cool. Yeah, I remember using the Power Mac G3s in the old days, doing some pretty cool stuff.
Oh, yeah. Adobe Illustrator.
Yeah. Flash cool. 1, 2, 3. And there was some 3D modeling programs were fun back in the day too. So.
Oh yeah. Using the Sparks. SunSpark.
Yep. So color picker for VS Code. I don't actually think I have that one. I might have to install that one too. So I'll have to throw that in there. So very cool. So then that takes us down to the last thing in our list, which is thanking our Patreon supporters. So since it's your first time, you can tell us why Patreon supporters are important to us.
Ooh. Yeah, definitely. I think our Patreon supporters are these people that really believe in what we're doing and all of our open source tools. As you know, all of the majority of the software that we put out there is open and available for usage. And, if you want to give back to us, please do. It really helps out. And anything that comes into Patreon goes directly to open source development, directly. So it really is a nice way to show your appreciation of what you do, especially if you're a company and it maintains the projects. Or, if you don't want to be a patron directly, send us work. That make sure that all the open source projects are maintained and are actually up to date always. And as you guys have known, we create a lot of stuff, so we always want to make sure that we can maintain everything.
Yep, for sure. So you want to try and run through these names? You probably know half of them anyway.
Sure. Let's see. Mr. Andrew Davis, Mr. Brian White, Carl von Stetten, Dali, Dan Card, Daniel Garcia, David Belanger, Didier Lesnicki, Don Bellamy, Eric Hoffman, Gary Knight, Jan Janek, Jeremy Adams, John Farrar, Jordan Clark, Joseph Lamorie, Laxma, that's a tough one, Tirtohadi, Matthew Clemente, Richard Herbert, Samuel Knowlton, Scott Steinbach, Mr. VJ, and Yogesh Mathur.
Yep, and just so Brad doesn't yell at us, it's Jan Yannick. The J's are Y's. I got told off the first couple times, so I learned. So Jan Yannick, thank you.
Jan Yannick.
Yep, and so it's been a busy week for everybody. A couple of great conferences, a lot of great content on Twitter and on the blogs. And I definitely recommend you guys go check out all the tweets from both conferences. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. And then, like I said, CF Alive, Michaela Light was at the CF Summit India, and had a lot of content on Facebook as well. So definitely go check that out. But thanks again for being our special guest.
Yes, definitely. This is so much fun. This is the first time in months.
Yeah, so cool. Well, we'll have to have you again, but thanks everyone for joining us, and everyone have a great week.
All right. See you soon, Gavin.
Thank you. Show notes for this episode can be found at cfmlnews.modernizeordie.io, where you can also subscribe to your favorite podcast player like Spotify or iTunes. We also have the link to YouTube to find more videos just like this. The music used in this podcast is under a royalty-free license from Sound.com and Blue Tree Audio.